Good morning, everybody. I'd like to learn today's Chitas and L'Zchus and the Shama of Rav Chaim Meir ben Avram Shmuel, my father, a blessed memory, his 26th yahrzeit. We're holding the second day of the month, second day of the week, I'm sorry. We're holding on chapter 6, verse number 14 in the book Shemois, in the Parsha of Ve'edah. These are the heads of the households. Reuven, the children of Reuven, who is Bechor Yisrael, who is the oldest son of Israel. Chanech v'Falu, Chertzim v'Charmi. Eile mishpachos Reuven. This is the family of Reuven. Now she says, why are we starting over with Reuven? Since they trace the lineage of the tribe of Levi, as far as Moshe and Aaron, because Moshe and Aaron, we go to Levi, therefore it traces from the beginning on Reuven. In the Piskei Rabba says the following statement, because Yaakov rebuked these three tribes before he died. Therefore, the Torah wants to give them a little bit of if you remember in the portion of Vayechi, Yaakov rebuked Shimon, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, and therefore the Torah wants to give them back their respect, that even though they were rebuked, they're still holy tribes. Bnei Shimon, the children of Shimon was Yemal, V'Yamin, V'Ad, V'Yachan, V'Tzeichar, V'Shol, Ben Aknanis. Eile Mishpachei Shimon, these are the tribes of Shimon. Eile Shmois Bnei Levi. And these are the names of the tribe of Levi, L'Teidesim, to their families, Gershon, Kahas, Umaradi. He had 4 sons, Gershon, Kahas, and Merari, 3 sons, I'm sorry. Shnei Chai Levi, the life of Levi was Sheva, Shleishim Mashana, was 137 years old. Now she says, besides Yosef, which tells us how old he was, why does it tell us how old Levi is? Why do we count Levi's lineage, how old he was? Comes to really tell us, you can figure out from the life of the Levi, you can figure out how many years they were in slavery. Why? Because as long as the tribes were alive, there was no bondage. As it says, Joseph died, as well as his brothers, and afterwards there rose a new king. So I believe Levi lived like 94 years into the 210 years of slavery, of bondage officially, when Yaakov Avinu went down to Mitzrayim. So therefore, the slavery didn't start till after 94 years that the Jewish people were in Mitzrayim, and then started off the 210 years that they were there. So that's why the Torah wants to tell us exactly how old Levi was. Bnei Gershon, the children of Gershon, was Livni v'Shimi. Livni and Shimi to their families. Bnei Kas, the children of Kas, was Amram, v'Yitzrer, v'Chevron, v'Uziel. These are 4 brothers. Shnei Chaye Kas. Kas lived, Shleisha Mashani, lived 130 years. So he lived like his grandfather. A couple of years long, 133. Again, from this calculation, we can learn that the 400 years that the Jewish people sojourned, that the scripture talks about from Avraham Avinu, talks about it spent from was not spent in Egypt alone, but rather was calculated from the day that Yitzchak was born. Because you have a problem. God tells Abraham for 400 years they're going to be in Egypt, they're going to be in slavery, and we know the Jewish people were only there 210 years. So therefore, we count. Therefore, the calculation is from when Yitzchak was born. This can be calculated for Kas was amongst those who went down to Egypt. Now calculate all his years and the years of Amram, his son, and the 80 years of Moshe Rabbeinu. When this story starts with Moshe Rabbeinu, he's 80 years old. You'll find that it does not total 400 years, and many sons are included in his father's years. So therefore, we know that it started, the calculation of the prophecy started when Yitzchak was born. Bnei Merari, the children of Merari, was Machli Umushi. Vayikach Amram, and Amram went and took his Yecheved Dosei. Amram married Yecheved, his aunt. Loili Ishay married as a wife. Vatelis Adonam Moshe, and he had Amram and he had Adon and Moshe. Shnei Chaya Amram, the lifespan of Amram was Sheva Ushleishim Ashar. He lived 137 years. Now she says the Idasa Yecheved was Achas Aviyah, Bas Levi Achis Kosh. It was his father's sister, the daughter of Levi, the sister of Kosh. So he married his aunt, which is later on when the Torah was given, you were prohibited from marrying an aunt. You can marry an uncle, but you're prohibited from marrying an aunt. Bnei Yitzhak, the children of Yitzhak was Kairach, V'Nefeg, V'Zichri. Bnei Uziel, the children of Uziel was Mishael, V'Eltzaf, and V'Sisri. Vayikach Aaron, and Aaron married as Elisheva Bas Aminadav. Aaron married Elisheva, a girl Elisheva, the daughter of Aminadav, Achis Nachshon, who was the sister of Nachshon. Ben Aminadav is a famous guy who jumped into the river. Leisha for a wife. Vateles Nadav Asaviu. He had 4 sons, Nadav and Avihu, Eliezer, Visamar, and Eliezer and Isamar. Why does it tell us who the brother-in-law was? Who his brother-in-law was? Nachshon. Mikalam, the Gemara says, from here we learn, Anesis Isha, if you want, when you marry a wife, you should check out your brother-in-laws. You should check out the brother-in-laws. Check them out. Make sure that they are fine character. The children of Kedah was Asiv, Elkanah, Avias, Eila Mishpechei Sakrasi. These are the family of the Kedah. Krachi. Verse 25, Eliezer ben Aaron Lakach Leben Nes Putiel, and Eliezer, the son of Aaron, married the daughter of Putiel, Leili Isha. Now this was Yisrei, so Eliezer and Moshe both married sisters. Bateles Pinchas, he had a child, it was called Pinchas. These are the heads of the family of the Levites, according to their families. Now she says, why Putiel, that was Yisrei, this was the seed of Yisrei, fattened. Why was it called Putiel? It was one of his 7 names. Yisrei had 7 names. He was called Putiel because he was fattened the calves for idolatry. Putiel comes from the fattening. And he also the seed of Yosef, who defied and fought Pitate against his passion. So he came from his lineage has a lineage of Yosef and the lineage of Putiel Yisrei. Verse 26, who Aaron and Moshe, this, so here we know who Aaron and Moshe is. Hashem lahem which God asked them to take the children of Israel out of Egypt on their allegiance. Now she says, who are Moshe, who are above, mentioned above, whom Yocheved bore to Amram. These two, the same Aaron and Moshe, who the Lord said, etc. Take the Jews out of Egypt. Some places in Torah's places Aaron before Moshe. In some places Moshe before Aaron, to tell us that they were equal. They felt us equal. Nobody was bigger than the other. They had total honor to one another. Al Tzevesam means with the legions. All the legions according to their tribes. These are the examples you find. Al means with. Verse 27. These are the ones who spoke to the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. To take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim. Who Moshe Aaron? This is Moshe Aaron. This is Moshe Aaron. She says, they commanded. Who Moshe Aaron? They remained in their mission and their righteousness from the beginning till the end. Verse 28. Now it came to pass on the day the Lord spoke to Moshe in the land of Egypt. So now she says, we go back to the story. This is connected to the following verse, which we go back to the story after we spoke about the lineage. We go back to the story. That's tomorrow. We now go to the Tanya of the day. We are in the middle of chapter 14 of Tanya. So the Alter Rebbe, still explaining the concept of a Beinoni and his struggles, the struggles of a Beinoni, which is the Alter Rebbe says we all are to have this struggle, and we are all to fight this war and overcome. We all can overcome it because it's in our hands to overcome these struggles that we go through. So the Alter Rebbe said there are two concepts, there are two situations in a human being, in a regular human being. He has his levushim, he has his brain that is in control of his levushim, of his garments. His seichel is in control of his machshava dibur ma'aseh. That's in his control, totally in his control, and he can think and speak and do whatever he wants. But his lev is not. His heart, his emotions are not always in his control. And therefore, he cannot say that he doesn't have any desires for certain things, because he does. So he cannot say, I'm separate from the world. I have no connection to the world. It's not true. It's not true. Because it's not in his control. So don't be somebody who can say you can have control where it's not in your control. And that's why we see throughout the world a lot of people that consider themselves very holy. You catch them in the most immoral acts because they're not in control, and they have taivas. We all have a nefesh abahamis. We all have an animalistic soul, and we have taivas. We have desires to worldly things. That's our nature. That's the thing. It's different. Whenever something entrusted to the heart means involvement of one's feeling. Meaning, in our case, I'm talking about that a person, the Alter Rebbe wants to go to the extreme, and that you should understand the truth. That the truth is, if you think about it for a second, you're not actually harbor despise evil. You don't despise it. You don't like it, maybe. You struggle with it. It's not Mars by you. It's not something that is despicable. And therefore, the son, that's how that he now craves, because he doesn't hate it. He might not like it. It's not a good thing for him, but he doesn't hate it. It's not most to him. It's not something that's despicable to him. But tachlis asina, whatever absolute hatred, as a tzaddik is. A tzaddik is most b'ra. A tzaddik is despise anything that is selfish. Anything that is desirable for its physical purpose, he despises it. Okay, if you want to go to the next step, even not an absolute, utterly hatred. You don't know, a person doesn't hate now. We don't despise the physical pleasures of this world. We might control ourselves. Right? A lot of us we realize that the pleasures of the world is not always good for us health-wise. You can't eat everything you want, because it's going to have ramifications. But you would love to have it. We pine over it. And we say, oh, why can't we have all these delicacies of life? Oh, I wish I can have all these delicious foods, but what should I do? I'm gonna gain too much weight. A tzaddik despises the physical for the sake of the physical. Actually, the Gemara says that there were two Tanoim were extremely fat, but they were fat from Ami Yehesh Meiraba. They were extremely fat from Ami Yehesh Meiraba, not from food, but from the saying Ami Yehesh Meiraba, which they said it with such intensity that it affected their body. This cannot be attained in complete truth. So it's impossible. And therefore, it's not a your avodah maybe to acquire this. This is only when somebody has an intense love of God, which the Alter Rebbe explained before, Bechinas Ava v'tanugim. This only comes about when somebody has a true delight in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When somebody has a true delight in God, he has automatically a hatred to the concept of something that is the opposite of God. This anig alavaya, to be delight in God. Me'ein olam haba, the bliss that is like the world to come. Concerning which the sages say that the soul will bask in the radiance of God's divine presence. Only such love which experienced delight creates hatred of evil, as explained in the previous chapter. And on this experience of this delight, this love of delight, our sages said, you will see a glimmer of your reward of the world to come in your lifetime. A tzaddik lives in Gan Eden right now. He doesn't have to wait to go to Gan Eden. He's experiencing the light right now in this world. And not every man privileged to attain this state. Because that's like you're getting the reward right in this world. So that is only for a tzaddik, and especially a tzaddik, a gomer, a complete tzaddik who's pashut living in Gan Eden right now. He feels his spiritual delight and godliness, doesn't have to wait for Gan Eden. He's experiencing it right now in this world. That's a gift. As it says, I'll grant you your priestly service, a gift. Service of God with this ecstatically blissful love is designated as priesthood that was given to the Kahanim, even though it was not restricted to the Kahanim, members of the priestly family of Aaron. The above quoted verse tells us that this lofty level of divine service is a gift. The Eibishter gave the Kahanim a gift of love of God, love of humanity. They go together. As I'll explain it more in another place. So consequently, the rank of a tzaddik is not within every man's reach. Just like the rank of a kohen is not within every man's reach. You have to be the son of Aaron. So you can want to be a kohen, but you're not going to receive the gift of the kohuna if you're not a son of Aaron. So it depends on one's loathing of evil, which in turn continued contingent on his experiencing the blissful love, which is a gift from God. The level of a Beinoni, however, is attainable by all. So therefore, you may never start to hurt everybody's feelings, but you may never be a tzaddik. And that's not your avodah. Then we have to come to the conclusion every person needs to know what his avodah in the world is. And now you might come to a conclusion that number one, I cannot be a tzaddik. Number two is I should never be a rasha. And number three is I should be a Beinoni. And that's my job. My job is to be a Beinoni. With this in mind, the Alter Rebbe clarifies the Talmudic passage as described by Job, who said, you have created tzaddikim, righteous men, because that's a gift. You created Rishoyim, wicked men. In the first chapter of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe asks, how can it be said created righteous and wicked men? If man is wicked, it's his own doing. God ordained only whether he shall be clever or foolish, strong or weak, and the like. How does it declare whether one will be righteous or wicked? For doing so would negate man's freedom of choice. How then did Job said you have created men at tzaddikim and rishoyim? Matter it comes clear, however, in the light of the Alter Rebbe statement here, that the ability to become a tzaddik is a gift. That's not in everybody's capability, not granted to every man. You have created tzaddikim. Thus means that God creates souls capable of attaining the right of a tzaddik. In the Alter Rebbe's words, the Alter Rebbe says, you created tzaddikim means certain people can reach up to the level of a tzaddik. And that's the meaning that you have created tzaddikim. You have now understand the statement as referring to those souls created with the capacity of attaining the rank of a tzaddik. The meaning you have created Rishoyim will be explained in chapter 27. But right now, with Alter Rebbe explains the meaning you've created tzaddik, meaning the Eibishter gives certain people through their service a gift. They have to self-fully do the service. But once they do that service and they reach up, they have the potential to reach up to Ava B'Tanugim, that they can reach up to a true aspect of love of God, the Eibishter will give them the gift. And that gift will be that there will be a response to that tainik, and they'll reach up to that level, the ultimate delight in God. And they will be able to have Avos Hashem in such a level. And then, but not everybody merits to that. Now what means you created Wicca? We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. But that the avodah is, as the Alter Rebbe is say, you have to try to be a Beinoni. Still b'tekunim, as it's brought down in the Zohar. Sheyesh b'neshamis kani minim madreges b'chinas. There are many grades and degrees of Jewish souls. Hasidim, Geborim, Amaskaba Yisram, Hasidim, strong men who gained mastery over the English nation, modern Torah. We have those, the scholars of Torah, Nevi'im, we have prophets, Tzaddikim, righteous people. Ayin Sham, see over there. So, calling within the rank of the souls, there are those characterized as Tzaddikim. That's what the Alter Rebbe really wants to say. So, you see, there's certain people that the Eibishter gave them the potential to be a tzaddik. And if you are not chosen to be a tzaddik, then I cannot become a tzaddik. It's not in my essence. It's not in my avodah. It's not in my service. It's not something that I can take. It can contain. It's not something that I'm able to reach. And that is the completion of today's Tanya. Today is the 27th day of the month. The Tillim of today is the 15th Shira Milas from chapter 120 to chapter 134. If you do those 15 chapters, you will do the Chitas of the day. I wish you all a great day. God bless you all. And Amir Shem, see you tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We'll continue the Chitas of